Yes. Okay. Excellent. All right. I'm going to drop something in the chat real quickly that I want to talk about. Also, forgive me, guys, if I sound a little hoarse. I have a sore throat from screaming the one day I go out per year with my friend who was visiting from California, and we were screaming over loud music, so my voice is a little shot. So, what I just dropped in the chat, spit out my lozenge. Okay, what I just put in the chat is my sleep tracker. I'm going to just give you guys a second to look over it. We'll go into it in a second, but today we're going to talk about sleep and why it is so unbelievably important for training improvements and also performance in your climbing. There is a lot to learn about sleep. It's not something I can actually fully cover in an hour, which I wish I could. I tried to. I spent a lot of time writing out this script and compiling all the really important things that I've learned from years of research and working with very, very qualified professionals. As somebody that has struggled with insomnia for about 14 years, if not honestly more, it's probably, wow, I've been saying that for a while now. It's actually around 18 years. It's been something that has been extremely important, and it's been unbelievable at times when I've gotten my sleep dialed in, and it's been absolutely wretched at times when my sleep is not dialed in. And it's so important to know what the most crucial aspects are for yourself. And that's one of the reasons why I made a sleep tracker. I had done a little bit of journaling and some trialing a while ago, years ago, when I first started working with a professional for my sleep. But then I got put on a medication that helped me specifically, just totally open. I want to say that I also have been prescribed ADHD medication, Vyvanse and Adderall, for the past 16 years. And during that time, I've had a lot of trouble sleeping from both those, but also, during the times when I wasn't on those medications, I still had trouble sleeping. I had about a 3-year gap where I was not on them, and I still had the issues. And it mainly stemmed from poor sleep hygiene and racing thoughts and an inability to control my thoughts. So I just want to quickly go into what we're going to cover today. I want to explain the different aspects of what you can track and what you can actually control. And then I want to get into really just explaining those things, because it's crucial to understand what's going on in your sleep, I believe. And anytime I've worked with anyone, that's how they lead. And then I want to get into a little bit about sleep deprivation and what that can mean for you, and what also just lower sleeping times can lead to, both in your performance in climbing and your adaptation rate. Then I want to talk about how sleep impacts your motor learning, and I want to go into the hormonal aspect of sleep. And hormones, especially growth hormone and cortisol, are extremely important for us to take into account when we're thinking about our recovery. It's going to have a very large impact on how you feel on any given day, but especially following a session and going into a session. The injury risk that accompanies different hours of sleeping, and then optimizing your sleep for performance using some things that you can easily control in a day, whether you want to or not. You have to always understand that changing your sleeping schedule and your sleeping lifestyle brings about a lot of different sacrifices, many of which even I have struggled to fully embrace and keep. So I know that I've got a very radical approach to my sleeping. I'm really regimented, and I try to lead by example, and it has worked fantastically, but there are still things I know that I could be doing a little bit better. that I strive to, but maybe I think I came in a little too hot in the beginning. We're going to cover that too. And then some pre-sleep tools and routines, and of course, troubleshooting your sleep. But I just wanted to start the way that I always start these, by opening up the floor very quickly to a couple of questions. If anybody has a question about anything, it doesn't even have to be about sleep. I'll give you guys 3 minutes to write out some questions, because I know people show up with some questions that they want to get after, and it usually helps me warm up the brain for the presentation. So go ahead and ask anything. If I don't get a question within the minute, I'll just run right into it. Emily, my savior. Andrew, thank you. Andrew M. Are you Andrew Miller? Were we talking today? My newest client? My friend? Several people are typing. Wow, it lets you know. Yes, Emily, we absolutely are. Oh, something so cool. I mean, I'll just say it right now, Emily. Caffeine was a really, really big one for me in the beginning of this trialing. You'll see. Well, you can't see. I hid the notes. Didn't want everyone seeing my entire journal, which is on the right side of this. But as you probably know, I completely quit caffeine after being completely addicted for the last, since I was 18 years old. So 13 years, I quit caffeine over a 30-day period. I just decreased by 0.25 fluid ounces of caffeine. And I did that following a bout of research. I actually read a couple of journal articles that were done on this. It was kind of paired with, and so was the impetus for this whole sleep study, with my stomach. I had some issues with my stomach, and I wanted to know what gastric distress I was in because of the caffeine I was ingesting. And I was having black coffee or cold brew coffee on an empty stomach a lot of the time. But in the process of learning, Emily, I learned that not only does caffeine have a half-life, but it also has an 8th life and a 12th life and a 20th life. And that trace amount, that small amount of caffeine, even if you have it in the morning, if you're a high responder to caffeine, that can be what triggers sleep disruption, interruptions in your sleep, and quick wake-ups, which I had no idea. Definitely noticing way less of those and feeling like I'm getting deeper sleep now that I've quit caffeine. Chevin, what type of meals should I eat prior to a competition? It's a pretty broad question. I'm going to answer it super generally. You should aim to have a meal that is carb heavy, about a sizable meal that's going to keep you full for at least the first 2 hours of the competition, and then you want to rely on quicker snacks because you don't want it to be too heavy, but you want to have something that's usually like 70% carbs, and I like to go with like 70% carbs and usually 15% protein, 15% fat, and then that's different after the competition. But I like to have a lot of carbs in the morning if I can, before a comp if it's midday. If it's in the morning, I'm also carbing up at night. Carbs, they're your best friend, but you do want balance for sure. You want satiation too. How many different sleep trackers did you try out before you settled on Aura? What did you like, not like, and what did you prioritize? Sid, that's a fantastic question. I actually tried the Whoop strap before this, and I tried an Apple Watch before that. Honestly, I just didn't like the thing on my wrist. Gonna be totally honest with you. That's what did it for me. The Oura Ring, I barely feel it. I like the interface of both of them. I like the information from both of them. I noticed that the wrist was, like, something on my wrist was actually making it harder for me to focus on sleeping. So I got rid of it really quickly. It was less than a month. Okay, Roray. Does it matter when you go to sleep as long as you have a routine and get enough sleep? Okay, so there's not definitive evidence for this, but I know that Deepak Chopra and many other gurus and people that are not just sleep specialists, but more like holistic life guides will say that the earlier you go to sleep, the higher quality that sleep is. Mainly saying this, I don't know what this math comes from, but the hours before 12 o'clock can have an impact of about 1.5 times what you get after 12 a.m., which I don't know about that. I have no idea if that is factual evidence. I haven't seen anything that disproves it. I haven't seen anything that proves it. I haven't done enough research on that, but from what I'm learning, it seems like it's just getting enough sleep and quality sleep. That's the most important thing. And if you have the same sleep schedule, that's so important. Andrew, any recommendations for improving ankle mobility for heel hooks? My external rotation is limited. Yes, Drew Rana has some great ankle mobility for sure. So it's kind of like any type of mobility training. The way to get it is to push into the range. So if you want to have ankles that can do those types of things, you need to, on a daily basis, try to open that hip all the way and push, turn it. Every time you're trying to set a heel, turn it as hard as you can, try to get it open. That's the best way you're going to see. Of course, you can do some banded work to kind of like progress that through exercise, but nothing's going to really do it for you better than doing it on the wall, because it could be your external rotation, sure. I'm sure that is the limit, but I'm positive that your positioning is also what's limiting you. There's so many different ways to move your body to get the foot into a better position for the heel that is not just turning at the hip, which is also really what's happening. You turn a little bit in the ankle, but it's your hip joint. Okay, Ron Beta. I'm curious about ADHD meds. I started taking Statera a month ago, and it fucked my sleep. I was sleeping very well before, and I had very decent sleep hygiene, but I haven't been able to figure out how to deal with the racing thoughts every night. My meds are supposed to do the opposite, but it ain't working. Used to get 4-ish hours of deep sleep, according to my tracker, and now is never more than 1. Wow. Okay, so 4-ish hours of deep sleep. I'm sure your tracker does what some do, which is they combine REM and deep. So you're not really, I mean, they're different, but and that's one of the things I like about the Oura Ring. It does differentiate, and I'm going to get into what they both are. But you should absolutely tell your psychiatrist about this, or your doctor, whoever prescribed it, because that medication sounds like it's not for you. There are way too many options to settle on something that's that disruptive. Quite ironic that I'm up at 1 a.m. to watch a webinar on how sleep is important for climbers. Rory, I think it's a worthy investment. One night where you have to sleep in a little bit more to potentially gain, an hour or two or way better quality would be awesome. I would make that trade. Okay, so let's quickly pull up I'm going to get the sleep tracker up. Okay, so I'm going to just talk about what is on here. These are things that I deem important, and I can explain this a little bit more because there's a lot of colors on here. Anytime you see a lime green, the scale goes from lime green to that bright red. The lime green is exceptional. Those are great nights. Those are great data points that I want to replicate. And in the column, you see that last column on the right. If you guys are new to the chat, look in the chat history. You'll see the chart that I put in there. It's my sleep tracker and journal. So that last column on the right, that average HRV, I have a notes section to the right of that. I didn't want to share my notes because there's private information there, but it's usually about a paragraph or up to 10 sentences about the previous day, about my night's sleep, about things that I know that for me are important to consider when I'm looking at this information. Because the goal of this is to really look at what is occurring in my sleep and what are the things that I'm doing throughout the day, and then how do those things impact the night's sleep. And very important things for me were the last meal timing and type. Other things were what I did during the day in terms of exercise. How much exercise did I do? Was it exhausting? Was it high intensity? Was it early in the day, how hard did I go, and what is my, and this is a different topic, but what is my ACWR? Am I in a state of, do I know I'm carrying fatigue? Am I not? That was really important for understanding some metrics. And you can see that there's much more red at the very top. And then there was a section in the middle where I had some red. There was a very, very stressful time in my life over here. And then at the end, below this, I could only take a small screenshot of this, but below this, it's been almost exclusively green. So the green scores are either good, great, excellent, or exceptional. And then the red scores are, bad or not so good, bad, horrible, and horrendous. So like an HRV of 36, that's horrendous. That was that first night when I was really struggling. Now I've also got things like what time did I go to bed, so the time to sleep, and then time to wake, and then I want to know my total hours of sleep. But I also really want to know my sleep score. The sleep score has been crucial along with the HRV. And that HRV is usually paired with the readiness score of the day before, which I've noticed a small correlation there. But it's also that HRV is, it stands for heart rate variability. And that's one of the best windows into your nervous system's readiness and recovery. It's not your heart rate itself, but it's the variation in time between each heartbeat. Contrary to what most people think, a healthy heart doesn't beat like a metronome. It actually varies from beat to beat depending on what's going on in your body. And the key things to know are that a higher HRV generally means that your nervous system is rested, recovered, and adaptable. And a lower HRV means that you're stressed, fatigued, overtrained, or you got crappy sleep. And that's why the Oura Ring includes it, and that's why it's a cornerstone in my overall quote unquote readiness score for me. Not just a readiness score here, but how I determine what am I going to do in today's session, and what will today's session look like. I know that on days when I have a low readiness score or lower HRV, that it's probably not the best idea to do those extra reps that are in question. So if I'm doing, let's say, a limit bouldering session, if I'm not feeling like I'm at peak and I'm maybe coming down, if today's score was a little bit lower, I'm probably not going to go for it. If it's really low, like if it's a red day, honestly, I'm not even going to try to have the session. I'm going to postpone it to the next day. Now, the other things on here that you'll see are deep sleep and REM sleep. And deep sleep is your slow wave sleep. It's the physical restorative part of your sleep cycle. And key word there is physical. So this is when your body releases the most growth hormone, which is critical for muscle repair, tendon healing, and full body recovery. And if you're training hard and you're not getting enough deep sleep, well, you're basically missing out on the moment that your body is supposed to build itself back up. So whoever just said that they're getting less deep sleep, that's horrendous for your recovery. Deep sleep also supports your immune function, and it clears metabolic waste from the brain. So if you're sore all the time, or you're getting sick often, or you're struggling to just feel refreshed again, there's a good chance that your deep sleep is lacking. Now the other one is REM sleep. And it's strange that the apps will sometimes combine these because they're very different. REM sleep is where most of your mental and neurological recovery happens. It's the stage linked to learning, memory consolidation, creativity, and fine motor control. And this is when your brain processes everything that you practice that day and turns it into smoother and more automatic movement. REM sleep is especially key for any of us climbers because we really rely on subtle coordination, body awareness, and decision-making under pressure. If your REM sleep is cut short, you likely feel foggy, uncoordinated, mentally slower the next day, even if your muscles feel fine. I remember very vividly one of the days, I think it was the red day here, in the middle where I got 1 hour and 2 minutes. I remember having a session on a boulder that I had been so close on, and I kept falling on the last move. But every move is really tricky, and it's on the moon board, and it's kind of jumping to those small yellow holds. And for the life of me, I could not hit any of the holds how I wanted to. Every single time, my aim would be just off a little bit. I would just not get it. And I would have like my pinky hanging off or my index finger wrong, or I'd have my fingers overlapped. And it's in the notes. You notice it when you do get one of those bad night sleeps and you're aware of these things. And so, I may have been better off not getting on something that required such precision. Maybe should have gotten on something a little more brute force that is on bigger holds. So a good way to think of it is just deep sleep rebuilds your body, REM sleep rewires your brain, and your HRV tells you how ready the entire system is to go again. Now you also see light sleep here, and that makes up the majority of the night. And this is stage 2 sleep, is what we call light sleep. But it's light sleep is extremely powerful, and it helps our motor learning and our climbing performance. It's the stage when our brain begins to shift from wakefulness to deeper recovery modes, and it makes up the majority of the night. It's like 45 to 55% of your night. So it's important because it's the appearance of something that's called sleep spindles, which are sudden bursts of brain activity that help your brain process and transfer motor memory from short-term holding to long-term storage, which is really crucial for if you're trying to learn any skills in climbing or you're just trying to get better at any exercise. And so it means that if you learn like a new beta sequence or rehearsed a coordination move or just trained dead points, anything coordinated with fast movement, stage 2 is when that raw information starts getting locked in. So these sleep spindles have actually been shown to correlate directly with skill improvement, especially in fine motor tasks. We rely a lot on subtle movement control, precision, foot placements, contact strength timing, hip positioning, and sleep 2 is basically where we encode all of that. So while it's not where you physically get restored like deep sleep, and it's not as mentally integrative as REM, stage 2 is the bridge. It's where your body shifts into recovery and your brain starts turning that practice into progress. So I hope I'm getting to the point that all of your stages are equally important for different reasons. And the cool part was that I learned how I could get more of different parts of sleep. And especially when I was seeing lower scores, I learned different techniques and methods to get more of each of them, like taking more magnesium glycinate for better deep sleep, and some L-theanine if I want to get a little more REM sleep. The last thing is the lowest heart rate, that BPM. Of course, also the awake. You'll see the awake right there. That's kind of my sleep efficiency score determiner. I actually do have a struggle. It's a high read, which is strange because when you put the ring on, you go to in the bed, it'll start recording instantly, and then it will stop when you get out of the bed. So some days when my wife and I are talking in bed, I got in early and I don't fall asleep for a bit, and then same thing, we get up and we're talking a little bit, and then we start our day. It counts that. But there are also some days where I just wake up and couldn't fall back asleep, although those amount of times are going down as well, as I learned really great strategies for how to put yourself back to sleep. But the last thing I just want to talk about is the lowest heart rate during sleep, which is called your nightly resting heart rate low. It's an indicator of how well your body is recovering. So this typically happens in the second half of the night, especially during deep sleep and REM sleep, when your body is in its most relaxed and parasympathetic, which is a rest and digest state. It matters because the lower and more stable the heart rate dips, the more it tells us that your body is not under stress, your nervous system is shifting out of fight or flight, and your cardiovascular system is efficiently delivering oxygen and removing waste. So if your heart rate is high though, which you can see some days, like the red ones, my heart rate was very high, it means that you're overtrained, and this is the one that I most had happen, is you ate a heavy meal or drank alcohol. That's never me. I never drink alcohol. But the heavy meal is absolutely something that I was doing a lot in the beginning that I have cut out since. You're dehydrated, not me at all. Or your body is fighting off illness or inflammation. Inflammation and the overtraining could potentially be indicators in the smaller fluctuations, but the red days are almost always when I ate a big meal. So you want a lower BPM in the middle of the night. Before I go any further, does anybody have any questions about what you guys saw on the screen? And yes, Hayes, this will be available afterwards. If not, I will continue. It's all good. Emily, you always have the best questions. Thank you so much. The throat is holding up. No, I just wear it at night. So I put it on right before I go to sleep, and then I take it off when I'm awake. Are HRVs comparable person to person? To some degree, your HRV, yeah, I mean, absolutely. The HRV also can tell you, Sid, how well trained you are, and mainly how fit you are in your cardiovascular system. So very highly trained cardio athletes can have HRV scores up to like 200. It's insane. 140 to 200 is like elite athlete. I don't do a lot of cardio, so my best score has been an 89. I strive. One of my goals is to get to 100. So I think I got to do a little bit of cardio after I go on this trip to Rocklands. Thanks, Sid. Oh man, you guys are asking good questions. Awesome. BJ, what's up, dude? Good to see you here, man. We've moved on from the DMs. Is this tracking chart something that you're considering doing indefinitely or just for a phase? Yeah, no, I'm going to keep doing this, Emily. I like doing constant research on this. Is sleep is by far the most important aspect of recovery, but it's not even close. The only thing that's more important for considering in your training world, if you're looking at information, is your load management. Have I used naps after technical sessions to boost motor learning and skill acquisition? BJ, naps are the ultimate project. I am really it's tough getting myself to nap. I've never actually successfully napped in my entire life. The only time I have napped one time was when I was unbelievably sick. Yeah, I wish. I really, really wish. Do you know how things as yoga or stretching before bed influences sleep? Yes, I know that they influence it extremely positively. That wind down is something I was using and have integrated as like a regular part of my day, every night, before I go to sleep. The no screens and a little wind down, a little meditation, some journaling. It is a drastic difference when you do it and when you don't do it. Okay. Perfect. I'll answer this last question, then I'm going to keep going into what I have prepared. So are there any small things you notice you do that helps getting better REM or deep sleep? I noticed starting getting significantly more deep sleep according to my Apple Watch since I started wearing socks to bed and closing the curtains despite it being already dark. Oh man, there are so many things you can do. It sounds like what you're doing is perhaps just allowing you to lower the amount of times that you're having small wake-ups and just allow you to be in deeper sleep. Like maybe you were getting a little cold. Also, you were probably very sensitive to light. I am highly sensitive to light, so we have blackout curtains. I'm going to try to don't worry, before this ends, I'm 100% going to cover all of my tips and tricks without a doubt at the end of this. If I do have most of them in here, but definitely going to cover it. Don't worry. Okay. So, yeah, this was the first time I actually wrote up a full script as opposed to just bullet points. So hopefully this goes well. So when we're talking about performance gains in climbing, we're really talking about learning. learning new moves, refining technique, and remembering beta. And this is what I want to talk about following, obviously, REM sleep. We're trying to lock in the information that we just took in. And this is obviously going to go beyond your climbing. It's going to go into your entire life. It's anything that you want to retain, like this webinar. So, but seriously, like remembering the small details of the session, like those little tiny things that make the difference. But if you don't write them down, you forget. You can lock these in. People that are top memory experts, you can look this up. They are master sleepers. Those people that do memory competitions, sure they do mnemonics, but they are also trying to get as much sleep as possible. That's like a big thing in the memory world. So we want to, every time we try a new boulder or struggle with a tricky sequence, we know that our nervous system starts encoding that pattern, but the real magic happens during that stage 2 slow wave deep sleep. During those stages, the brain literally replays the movement patterns you practiced, and it strengthens the circuits involved in the timing, coordination, and recruitment. There's even a type of brain activity called, like I said before, the spindles, which is really just a tiny burst of electrical activity that help transfer that motor memory from short term into the long term. We take things that we do once and we carry that forward. That is ensuring that we don't have to constantly relearn. That is that quote unquote muscle memory, but it's actually being stored in both our unconscious and our conscious memory, right? Like we don't have to actively think to do the things we've done enough. We also don't have to, but we do think about the things that were very key that we remember that we want to replicate, like beta or just core concepts that lead to success in your climbing. Now the REM sleep and the offline gains, it's the later in the night when you are in REM sleep, your brain takes those raw motor skills and integrates them into a broader movement vocabulary. And REM is where those things get refined. This is where subtlety and creativity emerge, and where fluidity is developed. And that's what I was talking about before. You're taking the muscle memory and you're creating that well-grooved movement pattern that you now own in your climbing. It's not going to be clunky anymore. It's not like when you first learned it and it felt awkward. It's kind of like when you go through that movement process when you're first learning it, like first attempt, second attempt, third attempt. The REM sleep is what takes all of that and makes it so you don't have to go back and do that again. It just locks you in where you are in the next day. So this stage is responsible for those aha moments. You wake up and you suddenly know how to adjust your hip position or when to relax your grip. You're not just remembering moves, you're actually improvising and adapting better. And that's what we call offline gains, performance improvements without further practice. So you can take this a step further and you can actually learn how to lucid dream, and you can make even more gains in your sleep. I actually know one competitor that uses that technique and has apparently claims to have seen massive returns in their climbing. I tried learning lucid dreaming for about 2 weeks and really struggled and kind of gave up. That was a while ago, but I am definitely motivated to try again. So the next time that you're debating between another burn or wrapping up early and going home to rest, remember that your best session might actually happen when you're sleeping. And that is so true. If you ever are at the gym late and you can get in a couple more attempts, always remember that those last attempts are always your lowest quality. So the further into the session you are, the more tired you are becoming, and the incremental improvements are getting less and less and less, and then they're going to cross that line and actually be detracting. But then if you can get home earlier, eat your meal earlier, which you want to have your meal about 3, sometimes even 4 hours before you go to sleep, then you can go to sleep. And you were asking, if there are things that can help you get better REM or deep sleep? Absolutely. Carbs. A carb-heavy meal, and just carbs throughout the day, way before you go to sleep. My personal favorite, I'm just going to say my absolute mega sleep formula meal is pasta and chicken, or pasta and steak. I'm talking, and obviously some vegetables. I love like putting a bunch of peppers and a bit of broccoli rabe and maybe some onions and garlic in there. But I have that, a big meal that makes me feel full, about 3.5 to 4 hours before I go to sleep. I'm not hungry when I go to sleep. I've got carbs, which are crucial for helping you stay asleep. And I get more deep sleep because I'm not digesting. You go into deep sleep sooner because you're not digesting. That digesting when you're trying to fall asleep, horrible. I used to actually for a long time have an apple right before, sometimes in bed. That was messing up my sleep for so long. Okay, so sleep deprivation and the coordination breakdown. When you are sleep deprived, your ability to access those small nuanced motor patterns are gone. You feel foggy, your timing's off, movements that used to feel crisp now feel clunky, and that foot stab misfires, that dead point, too late. You can't hit the rhythm. And it's because your motor cortex hasn't had the time to consolidate and clean up those movement signals. Add to that brain fog, that's good. Brain fog, that groggy, unfocused haze you get after a bad night of sleep. When you're in that state, beta doesn't even stick. I'm sure you guys have been to the gym, and I'm sure you've tried to do that tricky sequence or learn a new boulder, and you're just messing up. Sure, you could be distracted, but even if you aren't, if you're fully focused, remembering sequences becomes impossible. I remember I one time was at a competition a while ago, and I got a horrible night's sleep, as I used to before comps when I was a kid, because I'd be so nervous the night before. I'd be up until 4 a.m. thinking about every possible boulder they could give me, wasn't controlling my thoughts, and I remember the next day I had an on-site round. I think it was regionals. Yeah, it was regionals. And I walked out to that first boulder, and I got to the last move, and then something so uncharacteristically of me, I completely messed up the sequence on the next 2 attempts. Didn't send the boulder. Could not remember what I did. And that is the opposite. I never forget what my sequence. I'm always so focused and locked in. But I also felt like crap because I didn't get a lot of sleep, but I really remember that time when I could not remember what the hell I did. It felt terrible. So it is, you're constantly guessing, and you feel off, and that increases your physical output while reducing efficiency, which is just, a way of saying you're trying harder, but you're getting worse results. You also have a lot of hormonal recovery that occurs. The recovery side of this coin is that you don't get stronger during training. We all know this, right? You get stronger while you're recovering from training. So the training knocks you down, and a good night's sleep and other good recovery tactics will bring you back up. They determine how much you actually improve from that training. So one of the key players here is growth hormone. And guess when your body releases the most GH? It's during slow wave sleep. So growth hormone helps with muscle repair, tendon healing, and tissue regeneration. If you're not sleeping deeply, you're literally skipping the signal that tells your body to rebuild. I've had days where my body and my forearms feel like bricks. But if I get good sleep, that soreness became that satisfying deep recovery kind of sore. And that's GH doing its job. There are totally different feelings of sore. You can do this test yourself. I didn't mean to do this test, but I did it when I was doing my sleep study. Did the same workout and got a great night's sleep. And then about 2 weeks later, did the same workout with very small progression, and I got a totally different result the next day. Both were soreness, but one was much more sore, and it had the feeling of tweakiness to it. And that was that poor night's sleep. And I'm sure you guys have had the nights where you're on a long trip and you've got, that last day that you're going to go hard, you guys stay up late and you're partying or eating food late and just having a good time, and you get a crap night's sleep, and you feel a certain type of wrecked. I've had a bunch of those. I've also had the same thing where I get to sleep in the next day and I actually don't feel that bad. Sure, I'm a little sore in the fingers and the spots that are more joint related, but the muscles, the body feel okay. You know, if you eat a great diet and you drink a lot of fluids and you're not going crazy with how much load you're doing in that session, no one session should make you feel basically crippled or really, really bad sore. It's usually the fact that your body didn't get a chance to recover at all during the night and release that growth hormone or enough of it to make it so that you actually can now benefit from it in a couple days, as opposed to needing to take a whole deload week. So on the flip side of growth hormone, there is cortisol, which is your stress hormone. It naturally rises during hard training, and that's normal. But if you're not sleeping, it stays elevated longer. And chronically high cortisol means more inflammation, slow recovery, and higher injury risk. Think of it like trying to send with a loaded backpack. Everything gets harder. And another fun fact about cortisol is that when you wake up, you have a natural release of cortisol. So there's basically a circadian rhythm, but there's a cortisol rhythm to your day, and it aligns with, yes, your circadian rhythm, but also receiving sunlight and seeing the sun. Our brain is triggered by this, and it's why people will say in the morning when you wake up, immediately go look at sun, get sunlight in your eyes. I'm sure you guys have heard that on some podcast or read it in some book or blog, but that's 100% true. It's also why you don't, this was a huge change I made, but it's also why you do not want to have caffeine in those first 60 to 90 minutes. That's going to spike cortisol, and if you throw off that natural release, now you're going to have more cortisol in your system, which is going to affect the rest of your day, which will inherently affect your sleeping quality. So delaying that caffeine till a little bit later, letting yourself naturally wake up, is going to allow you to get a better bout of energy throughout the day, more stable. It'll avoid that crash that happens when you have a high spike of cortisol, and it's going to help your recovery, and it's going to help your sleep quality. I'm going to take a quick break to answer these two questions you guys threw in here. If your main time availability for climbing is later in the evening, how can you make the most out of it without throwing off sleep? Now that is a great question that many people ask. So if you are climbing at night, you got two options. Let's say that's your only availability. I would recommend, and I do have many people that are training with me that have this, to instead of having less frequent, longer sessions, have more frequent, shorter sessions. So let's say you are, I'm just going to use my life as an example. You're someone who likes to go to sleep at 9:30 p.m. and be asleep by 10. But you get off work, let's just say, I don't get off work at any time. I work all day, every day, because I love it. But let's say you get off at 5. So you've got 5, and then you get to the gym, let's say 6. You get home, or let's even push a little further. You get home, you have some food, you get to the gym by 6:30. Okay, now you've got 3 hours before you want to be in bed. Okay, that means you've probably got only 2 hours at the gym to get in there, get a session, come back, maybe eat some food, and then go to sleep, although you should have had your food earlier and maybe just have a light snack after. You could do that, or you can give yourself a little bit more time and maybe have, instead of 3 of those sessions per week, you could have 4 or even 5 sessions. And maybe if you have 5 sessions, 3 of them could be an hour and a half, and then 2 of them could be an hour. Now you're getting a little higher frequency. You're also getting more high quality training in because you're getting the front of sessions, right? Those are the higher quality when you're at full strength, full energy. And then you're also able to get more time at night to get more sleep. Now let's say if you're really scrunched and you can't, hopefully you can get sleep in the morning. And maybe you can get a nap in during the day. Aside from that, you're going to have to look at your schedule to see if you can maybe shorten those sessions at night by squeezing in some sort of work during the other parts of the day. Okay, there are established loads and rep volume protocols for improving strength and motor learning strength movements. Are you aware of studies regarding more complex movements and the rep volume of movement within a session to optimize memory, maybe in climbing or dance? I am not. Are you aware of the studies regarding more complex movements? No, BJ, you'll have to send me some links, man. I haven't heard that. I listened to a podcast of Huberman a while ago talking about how to improve memory by spiking epinephrine after learning sessions, and also having caffeine or hyperventilating following a learning session. I haven't really experimented with that, but this sounds really interesting. Some people talk a bit about protein half an hour-ish before bed to promote muscle synthesis at night. Guess that's not a great idea from a sleep perspective. No, Emily, it's not a bad idea to have protein at night. That's good. You should, you can get in protein in a very easily digestible form. That's really what's important. Is you don't want your body working hard to digest. So having like some PhysiVantage collagen, which is what I have every night before I go to sleep, about 30 minutes before, or having like a protein, just like mixed in water, protein powder, like some whey protein, or having it's actually better to have casein. I actually switched to casein recently, or some yogurt is fine. Something that your body's not going to be working hard to process and digest and break down. That's really what it is. Okay, so let's go back to the injury risk. So poor sleep obviously raises your chance of injury dramatically. Sleep deprivation increases your perceived pain as well. It decreases tissue healing, and it reduces proprioception and reaction time. And it also, obviously, puts the body in a weakened state. If you've ever missed a hold that you normally latch or slipped doing a basic move or felt your foot placement was just off, that's what happens when your nervous system is running on fumes. I have had this happen many times, knowing that I feel under-recovered going into a session, feeling a little bit tweaky, things just ache a little bit more. And of course, when all those stars are in a line, you've got that perceived pain is increased, you are more inflamed, obviously you haven't gotten the quality recovery, your tissue has not healed to the degree that it could have, and you're getting in another session soon, you're going to see a big spike in that injury risk percentage. Now that injury risk percentage starts increasing drastically once you cross 8 hours. So you can look it up. There are charts that show you for every hour below 8 hours of sleep, you can see anywhere between a 10 to 15% increase in your injury risk. So if you're sleeping 5 hours, you could be at 45% higher injury risk than someone when you're sleeping 8 hours. That's massive. Okay, that is the opposite of what we want. We want to be trying to sleep more, and I like to think of it like 8 hours is neutral. If I'm sleeping 8 hours, the training that I've been doing, I'm going to get that baseline result. I might increase by 1%. But if I get 8.5, now I'm increasing by 5% more. And I can tell you guys, for a fact, this is not, I don't need to guess. I have the information in my chart that I've seen my biggest improvements in my strength metrics, and I've seen my best days following periods where I got a higher average sleep. So I need to get more hours. My dream is to get 9.5 every night. And that I've done it for periods. I had a period a while ago where I was getting 10 hours on average for about 2 weeks. And it was like it felt like I was climbing 2 grades stronger. That's also because I was climbing 2 grades stronger than when I was not sleeping well before then. Okay, now the part that you guys were hoping I get to, which is optimizing your sleep for performance. So we're talking about the solutions. You need structure, you need intention, and really the most important thing is you need consistency. A lot of these things do not work the first time you do them, and a lot of these things only play a small role. And everybody has a different collection of the things that they do right and the things that they do wrong. There are also obviously things that have a much bigger impact on certain aspects of your sleep. So we're talking about, for me, the biggest one, the one that has the largest impact on my sleep quality, me personally, is the temperature in my bed. Not just in the room, in the bed. That's very important. So, I like to sleep with something heavy on me. I bought what's called the tree napper, and it is a woven, very wide weave where you can see in between the weaves of fabric. It's a weighted blanket, weighs about 25 pounds, and it feels like I've got something big and heavy on me, but it's open, and so it's extremely breathable. I place a thin sheet underneath that, and I was sleeping for a while. I liked it, and it definitely worked, but for me, open honesty with you guys, I honestly didn't like how heavy it was, and it also was just a little small for me. I would find that my arms or my legs would stick out, and I bought the biggest size. I can fit in there, but I feel like I have to be bunched. And so I switched back to my comforter, but I brought the room temperature down, and I sleep with no clothes on at all, birthday suit. And I feel a ton better. I don't wake up hot, which I used to a lot. Yep, Ben got the tree napper, that thing. Everyone that gets one loves it. I'm the only one that couldn't stay with it. I still have it. I occasionally use it, but I just I'm sleeping so well with my new formula that it's really helped. And then I also got the eucalyptus sheet underneath, so I have a very breathable fabric sheet that I lay on, which helps a ton with the night sweats. Were a big thing for me. We also have a fan blowing on me on the right every night. That's been a thing for years, and we keep it very cool in the house. We bring it down to about 65. Not gonna lie, we bring it down to 65. Yeah, it's low. I know. People say 68. I need 65. I also take a hot shower before I go to sleep, which is absolutely huge for getting your core temperature down. So you take, I know it seems kind of the opposite. A hot shower would kind of heat you up, but when you take a hot shower, your body tries to cool you off. So it will try to push that heat out and bring cool air to the surface. No, it's cool blood to the surface of your skin. Okay, now we've got blackout curtains and no glowing clocks. Nothing that glows. I also don't keep my phone near me. I know that doom scrolling is literally the worst on the planet, but it's also that light that comes from the phone drives me nuts. Even when you put it face down and it lights up, I'm very sensitive to light. So we have blackout curtains. We actually got blackout shades, and then I put blackout curtains over the blackout shades. I'm crazy, I get it, but I am very light sensitive, and now I don't wake up. I used to wake up all the time. And during this, the summer when the sun comes up early, you're used to waking up at 6, now you're waking up at 5. Nope, not me. Not happening. I'm sticking to my sleep schedule. Then the other aspect of the phone is how many of you guys lose, I'm just going to throw a number out there, 30 to 60 minutes, could be more, every single freaking night of your life staring at that phone. Just doom scrolling, watching YouTube videos, doing nothing important, just wasting away in front of this thing that we are helpless against. I leave my phone downstairs, and then I do the last hour of my night upstairs, away from that frickin' phone. That it's a trap. It's like the greatest struggle that we have in this life is quitting these small things that account for huge losses in fulfillment. So we think, because it's a dopamine release, it's not a serotonin release, we think that the dopamine release creates genuine happiness. And so we are going to keep doing it. We're going to keep looking at the phone. But, all of you guys know, it's like, I know, I got to stop. It's kind of like everything you've heard tonight. It's like, I got to stop. I got to start. Well, just do it. You're only going to be happy you did. There's no one I've ever talked to that started doing these things, stopped their phone, and then regretted it. Nobody. 0 people. My wife and my entire social life has not changed at all whatsoever. The only thing that has changed is we're more animated and we're more fun to be around when we're with our friends. We still stay in touch the whole rest of the day. Okay, I'm not going to harp on that anymore. Promise. Sorry if that hit home. The other thing is keeping the environment quiet. I really like the fan because it acts as a silence machine or like white noise. But my wife will sometimes bring her phone in to the bedroom and play pink noise or brown noise. We really like now. White noise is fine, but just making it so that we don't have any loud noises that will interrupt us. I don't like sleeping with earplugs. I've tried it. I don't enjoy it. And of course, a comfortable bed and pillow. A while ago, I saved up and bought a very nice mattress. It's extremely comfortable. I hate sleeping in any other bed. And we got awesome pillows and a great comforter. If you're spending money on anything else that you don't consider the most important thing in your life, spend money on your mattress. Spend money on the comfort that you feel and the quality of your sleep that you want to get for literally 9 hours every day. That is way more important. Okay, moving on to number 2. Avoid stimulants late. No caffeine after 2 p.m. is what some people say. I say no caffeine after 12 p.m. And I don't drink caffeine anymore. I used to never, ever have caffeine after 10 a.m. Almost, and that was rare. I usually had it at around 6 or 7 a.m. But like I told you, even at 6 or 7 a.m., it's going to be present in my system late at night because of that half, quarter, 8th life, 12th life, 16th life. It's still in your system. It's not gone. It's not like it goes in and then it fades away and it's gone before you go to sleep. It's still there. And the more you have, let's say you have, 200 milligrams, you pound a Celsius. Now that 200 milligrams is dwindling down. So the half-life, 100. Okay? That quarter life, 50. That 8th life, 25 milligrams. So at the end of the night, when it's only down to that 8th life, you still basically have a green tea in your system or a weak tea. That's enough to keep you up. Enough to keep my mom up. She's a tea drinker. Then, of course, avoid anything like chocolate or sodas that do have caffeine that you might not realize, especially not dark chocolate. And avoid heavy meals and any alcohol before you go to bed. Not going to go on an alcohol rant. Just going to say this. It is easily the worst thing that you can possibly do for your sleep. It's not even close. If you want to know just how bad alcohol is for your sleep, highly encourage you. And also just to follow this up, download or pay for Masterclass and watch the Sleep Masterclass. Unbelievably educational, and it is shocking how horrific alcohol actually is for your recovery. It basically knocks you not to zero. It knocks you backwards. It's just so bad. Wish I had known that. It's like scary how bad it is. Like shortens your life bad. Okay, shut down screens early. This is phones, laptops, TVs, anything that emits blue light. It's suppressing your melatonin. Okay, that's what blue lights do. So people say don't look at screens. That is quite literally preventing you from creating the thing that's trying to put you to sleep. So it's telling your brain, the sun's up, the sun's out, here it is, time to wake up, time to be awake. It's not going to let you fall asleep. That's why staring at that phone, even if you do fall right asleep, you're not going into deeper sleep earlier. You're going to be up for longer, and you're going to be in a very, very light sleep stage. So try to get those screens off. My screens are off at 8:30. 8:30 p.m., no more screens, no thank you. I'm going to actually have meaningful conversations with my wife, read a little bit, do anything else, do some stretching. We love doing yoga. We do anything that we can to not look at a screen. Go for a walk, a nice relaxing walk. We love walking meditation. Life just honestly gets a lot better when you break away from your phone. And you become a more interesting person. So now here is a wind down routine that I like to do. You can do just a little bit of a snack, something that has some carbs. I like to, about usually an hour, 45 minutes before I go to sleep, I'll have, I like a banana with a little bit of peanut butter and honey, just a little bit of snack. If I'm feeling, especially if I did a big workout and that my dinner didn't fill me up, but just that small, very easy to digest. The other one I like is, and the honey's always raw. I love raw honey. Yogurt with some raw honey and just a little bit of the collagen in there. Mix it around. I like to have the banana with like just a little sip, just a small amount of water for my collagen. And then I'll go into, usually we'll go for a walk, a little walking meditation. Only needs to be 5 to 10 minutes. We like to go for a 20-minute lap. Then we do very light stretching, tiny bit of meditation. I'm not a great sit and meditator by myself. I'm much better with somebody else. So when I do these nightly meditations by myself, I do that while I'm stretching, and I like to use, it's called a healing and cleansing playlist. It's just like a bunch of brain waves and like melodic tunes on Spotify, which kind of answers your question, Rore. How does music before bed influence sleep? I haven't done a ton of research on how different types of music influence sleep, but I know that if it's something that gets you excited, increases your heart rate, and makes you alert, probably don't want that before you go to sleep. But anything that helps you relax, feel your heart rate lower, kind of clear your thoughts, that's something that you would love to listen to. That's what I do. And I love always doing a breathing exercise. There's nothing that changes your state more than long inhales through the nose and even longer exhales through the mouth. And when I do that, it's very hard for me to focus on one thing. That's my ADHD. But I love to visualize different climbs I've done. And I always, when I'm visualizing, I like to climb with flow, slowly, controlled. And it's something that I always like to reinforce when I'm projecting something, is just taking each move one at a time, not trying to rush. When I was a competitor, I used to rush a lot, and it worked out beautifully when it did, especially on powerful boulders that are more straightforward. But the nuance of outdoor boulders, you need to go a little bit slower. You can't just rampage through them. So I like to visualize boulder problems, or I like to just sit there and think about different things in the room and just label them. That is also my biggest trick to going back to sleep. So when you wake up, I've actually helped a lot of clients of mine that struggle with this, any of my clients that are willing to talk about sleep and get into it with me. When you wake up in the middle of the night, it's really easy to have a disruption last for a while when you are just thinking about anything, thinking about work, thinking about what that person said to you today, thinking about what you're going to do tomorrow, thinking about your training and your climbing, thinking about different climbs, if you're me. And so you know that you don't need to think of those things right now. That's not the goal. Your goal is to sleep. And sure, it feels good to think about some things. You actually do get dopamine hits when you think about certain things, but that's not what you want to be doing. So you can control your thoughts, and it's crucial that you do when you wake up. And I worked with a sports psychologist a while ago that knew that I was waking up all the time. and we talked about it, and she taught me to just think about the things that are in the room and say them out loud in your head and label them and slowly be present in the room. Don't be anywhere else. Don't be thinking about anything else. Just notice everything. So I will start with the same thing. I'll say, where my head is looking always, it's, there's the hamper. There's the shirt in the hamper. And I'll move on. There's the bed. There's the floor. There's the floor near the corner. There's the ceiling. And I label every single thing. It's incredible how many different things you can label in your room. I've never made it through the whole room. I always fall asleep before I can get through the whole room. It's, sorry, Evan. Yeah, right, by reading that. So being present, there are many ways to be present. Another one that I love to do is listen to the sounds that are in the room. Is another amazing one for meditation, is just listen to when you stop talking and listen to all the sounds in a completely silent room. It is incredible how many different things that you can hear. And the more you try to tune into tiny little sounds, the more you stay present and the less you start thinking about the things that are keeping you up. So, and smells too. All these different methods can allow you to go right back to sleep. It was incredible when I started doing this almost instantly that first night. What used to be, 2 to 3 hour interruption in the middle of my night, yeah, they used to be that bad, sometimes more, became about 10 minutes, if that. It was just night and day. That sports psychologist taught me so many things. I got to get another good one because she moved to Argentina, and that was so tragic. But anyway, pre-sleep tools and routine. Other things you can do are reading. I talked about the box breathing. You can do that hot shower people love to do. A little bit of chamomile tea. You can take things like magnesium glycinate and L-theanine. There are many other things that you can take for sleep. I've been taking something else that was helping me during my caffeine weaning, which is called phosphatidylserine, which is good for managing your cortisol. I trialed a bunch of different things that I knew would help stabilize, satiate my digestive system before I went to sleep. Like what I was just describing before, that's why I love the raw honey. Helps keep my blood sugar stable and is a healthy form of sugar. And then, of course, like I said, just don't go on that phone. That is your biggest helper. Now, the other little secrets are cooling down after training. If you've just done something that has gotten you excited and you're worked up, or you just did a hard training session, which a lot of the time you shouldn't do right before you go to sleep, keeps your heart rate up, is to do a cool down. So make sure that you take the time to cool down. I've learned that taking 10 minutes to cool down can save you those 30 to 45 minutes of being in bed, not sleeping. So one, which leads to a very important concept, is you don't want to be in bed not sleeping. So if you're not, the brain wants to label locations for different things, and it's very healthy to do this. So if you've got a place that you sleep, which is the bedroom, you want the brain to know, okay, when I'm in here, I'm sleeping. That's what we do here. But if you're doing things that are not sleep, like people say, don't do homework in your bed when you're a kid, it's for that reason. If you're in the bed and you're not sleeping, get out of the bed and go do something else somewhere else, and then come back when you're feeling more tired. If you're someone that tosses and turns in the bed trying to fall asleep, you're perpetuating that cycle. So stop going to sleep, change that routine, read in a different room in dim lighting. Well, you should still be able to see the page. You shouldn't be straining to see it, but everything else should be dimmed. And relax, do a little bit of meditation before you go back in the room. So that those 2 layers of winding down help a ton. You can also take melatonin as a supplement. I don't advise. I don't recommend it really to people. It does help some though, but taking melatonin can also kind of prevent the body from producing melatonin like it normally does. Also, you got to understand that these companies that sell melatonin have a very wide range of the amount of melatonin in there. So you kind of want like 1 to 3 milligrams of melatonin, but some companies that advertise like 3 or even 1 to 5, studies have shown that they have anywhere between almost none trace amounts to 50 milligrams of melatonin. So you don't always get, especially in those gummies, there's a different amount of concentration in each one. So just something to be aware of. Always have that caffeine cutoff, avoid any mentally stimulating activities. If you wake up at night, don't panic, just get out of the bed, read something and relax. Don't check your phone, whatever you do. Herbal tea or valerian root is great. And of course, if you guys are experiencing constant wake-ups or very disrupted sleep, it's worth getting a sleep test. I had a sleep test done and it showed I don't have sleep apnea, which, was frustrating. I wanted to know if I had something, but it allowed me to realize, oh, wait a second, there must be something else going on here. And it was amazing how I realized, wow, I've got all these different things that I'm doing wrong. It's not that there's one big thing wrong with me. It's all these other things are creating a poor sleep environment. So that's all I really had written down. I know we went a little over tonight, but sleep's something I care a lot about. Just off the top of my head, the last things I'm going to share are, don't drink fluids after 8 p.m. or up to about 2 hours before you go to sleep. I, for a long time, used to have to wake up to pee like 2 times per night. And since I stopped drinking water at about 8, I don't have to wake up 2 times. Sometimes I will even use the restroom before I go to sleep and stay there to make sure that I go again and get everything out. And some days I go all the way through the night without having to pee, and it's fantastic. Let's see, your partner, the person that sleeps in the bed with you, can be a disruptor as well. I knew this in the beginning. My wife and I used to share my bed back in my parents' house, and it was a queen bed. And she would wake me up sometimes, just a friendly little kick, or just being too close, and I would feel hot and wake up. And so we spent a little more money and got a king bed, and now I don't even know she's there, and my sleep drastically was benefited. Another thing that I got was a humidifier for the room because I was waking up with a little bit of dry mouth. The humidifier definitely helped. I don't know if that's in the very, very top of things that are required for better sleep, but it's just another strategy that you can use. And medications. Medications are the biggest. Look at what your medications are doing in the short term. Look at what they're doing in the long term. And look at what your medications have interactions with. And how does caffeine play into them? I didn't know that having caffeine, and it seems silly, but 2 stimulants, ADHD medication and caffeine, they both bolster the effects of each other. And when I was having a lot of both, I was having a lot of trouble sleeping. Lower them down, I don't have as much trouble sleeping. Now, the last thing I'm going to say is that I also, while I've still been on my ADHD medication and weaning off, have been also on trazodone, which is a medication that helps with your sleep. It helps my insomnia, and it has been pretty instrumental with helping me get through really hard nights where I can't fall back asleep, or falling asleep. And I don't recommend this if you don't have severe sleeping issues. Like I said, I used to have nights where I just never would fall asleep. Ever. Quite literally at all. I would just lay there for literally 9 hours straight. Those nights were the worst. Ever. Tries don't help me, but everyone's different. There are many other things that can help, and I don't recommend that you use that over the long term. I'm not planning on it. In fact, I'm weaning off currently. But there are things that if you have a period of your life where you're extra stressed or you've been really struggling to get better sleep, those can help get you in the right path and at least help get you sleep in the short term so that you can find motivation and energy to make other adjustments. I'm going to answer these last questions. If you guys have any others, go ahead and ask. But I'm also going to pop this lozenge because my throat is really starting to ache after all this talking and having it be hoarse in the beginning. Okay, let's see. We got, 14 new messages. Okay, good one. Change my interruption time like crazy. Okay. Emily, I feel like a lot of well-known top climbers emphasize caffeine, Red Bull coffee, which is really interesting. I wonder how they manage their sleep. Guess maybe just having it before noon or 3 p.m. Yeah, it's very likely. Everyone's different too. Some people, you always need to find the best caffeine dosing for you. Like when I was having caffeine, and also I do want to say, I am planning on having caffeine on my climbing trip. So not during my training period, but I'm going to be reintroducing caffeine while I'm on this trip because I know it's a huge aid for me, and I'm going to be just improving the methods that I use or increasing the efforts to wind down, and I'm only going to be having it in the morning. I'm also moving my climbing sessions up a little bit earlier. When do you take the magnesium? Also, have you ever had like super realistic dreams when you take magnesium? Ben, good question. So when I used to do the spray magnesium, I would spray it on my stomach and rub it in. I definitely had those crazy magnesium dreams. Yeah. I also just normally have insanely vivid and just bizarre dreams. I'm a very active dreamer. Just about every night I have a ton of dreams, and I remember almost all of them. It's weird, but I take the magnesium about 30 to 60 minutes before I go to sleep. Now I just take it's like a powder that you put in water and drink it. Evan, I might have missed you talk about it, but what's the best way to replace caffeinated pre-workout for more energy during a session? Since I usually drink a yerba before my 5 p.m. sessions. Well, not many things are going to replace your caffeine. If you're looking for energy, your best bet's going to be nutrition. There are a couple of replacements for caffeine. Like if you look in what many of the pre-workout supplements have, you can find caffeine free. I have had a couple. I notice a little bit of a difference, but not a ton. Unfortunately, a lot of those are also bolstered by caffeine. So Evan, your best bet is great sleep, honestly. The best pre-workout would be about a 10-minute nap, by far. That'd be even more effective than caffeine. But Evan, also, get an Oura ring or get something to look at your sleep. It's worth it. I know some people that drink caffeine later in the day and still have great sleep. It's rare. It's very rare, especially at that hour, but it's possible. Everyone is different. Your body might metabolize it differently than mine. I forget what the setup is for taking blue light off your iPhone, but you can set it up in an accessibility shortcut. I usually hit that in the evenings. Yeah, Dana, mine is like that all day. I'm permanently on. I think it's a white point off and dark mode on, or night shift is just always on. All right, Hayes, not a super sleep-oriented question, but I've recently been doing 2 trainings per day. Is this bad for recovery? Nope, not if the load is correct. If you're able to recover from each one, and it's basically like you could do one training session a day, and you could split it up into 10 different small, tiny sessions. You could do that, sure. It's just, are you adding on warm-up time and like extra warm-up time for 2 sessions? Yeah, I mean, that's separate. No, it's not a bad thing. It's not bad for recovery. The only thing that you would also want to consider is like how far apart are the sessions? Are you getting recovered enough in between them? And then by moving that session that would have been the morning to the night, are you now shortening your recovery period? More so depending on what you're doing in that session, but isn't that now shorter? Like you had 48 hours between when it's in the morning, and now you move it up 8 hours, now you only have 40 hours. That could have an impact. Do you ever notice any associations with added sugar and your sleep? Emily, I wish I could say I did, but I don't have any added sugar in my diet. 0 whatsoever. I don't. The only thing that I have that is, processed is that the Physivantage and the powder, the protein powder that I have. That's all I have. That's a processed food. I guess yogurt too could be considered that, but everything else is just a whole food. And the yogurt I get is sugar-free. Should have asked, what dosages are you doing for your magnesium? I'm doing 200 milligrams right now, Ben. Anyone have good alarm clock racks? I struggle to leave my phone out of the room because I can't find a good clock that isn't super expensive that lets me set different alarm times for different days. Emily, that is actually a fair question. For different days. Emily, I wonder if you could get like an Echo Dot or something that's just the speaker that will be in your room, and then the phone is maybe in a different room, so that when the alarm goes off, you hear it, but it's not in the room. Maybe look into that. I don't know much about that, though. I'm sorry. Evan, been thinking about an Oura Ring for a bit now since I'm curious about sleep. Thanks for the tip, Charlie. Absolutely. All right. Yeah, you're welcome, Evan. And thank you, everybody. Guys, I'm going to leave it to Dave. If Dave's asking a question, he's going to be my last question. Oh, no, Dave, don't bail. That's okay. You're allowed to bail. All right, guys. Well, thank you, everybody, for coming. This was, I think, our record for turnout. I'm super psyched. I hope you guys learned a lot. Thank you always for coming and supporting my webinars. And heck yeah, I'm glad you guys are inspired to sleep. And please shoot me an email or a DM if you guys have any other questions. Always happy to help anyone out. So thank you, guys. I hope you had a great holiday. Man, I've been saying July 4th the whole time. It's 4th of July, man. Get it together. And have a great week ahead of you guys. I'm off to Rocklands in 6 days, so I can't wait. And this is the last webinar until maybe I find a time then or get back. So thanks for coming, and I will definitely be posting more helpful things on sleep to come. But awesome, guys. Have a good night, everyone. Get some good sleep.